Hi friends, welcome back and welcome to another Come With Me. I'm excited because we're getting this movie around the same time as America. Of course, I'm talking about Smile. There's been some really, if you haven't seen it, there's been some really good publicity on this. I have tried to look away every time it's played at the cinema, which I've seen the trailer a bunch, but I've looked away. So technically I haven't seen it. But what they did for marketing, I just want to say props to them. If you didn't see, they organized little clips like this where they would do like an up close shot at a sports event to kind of pique interest or really get people curious about what the movie was about and maybe like what that was, so they would Google it. I thought it was really genius and I loved it. From what I know, Smile is about a doctor that witnesses a traumatic event and then she starts to see strange occurrences of people with smiles, I think. These terrifying smiles that are almost contagious, and she needs to go into her past to find out the root cause. A lot of people have been saying the smiles look like Truth or Dare smiles, which I like. I thought that movie was kind of, predictable, but still creepy at that. And I'm excited for this one because I've heard there's quite a bit of gore. It seems like a really fun, simple, straightforward horror movie or a popcorn horror movie, which if you don't know that term or you're not familiar with how I use it, basically it's a horror movie you can sit back with. It doesn't have too much depth and it's just an enjoyable ride. And I think I'm in for some creepy vibes and some cool scares. The film also stars Caitlin Stasey, who is an Australian actress who's known from Neighbours and Sleepover Club. So as soon as I saw her in the marketing, I'm like, oh my God, I know that girl. And it kind of took me out of it, but I'm excited to see what she's up to now. And I'm just really keen for some good scares. Probably some jump scares, but that comes with the territory and I'm not against that in any shape or form. Let's go check it out and I'll let you know whether it's worth checking it out in the cinema or you should just wait for a streaming. I'll let you know whether it's worth your money and what kind of people and crowd it would suit. Let's go check out Smile. It's also, I'm going during the day, which I haven't done this in forever, but I missed the pre-screening last Friday night. So I'm going during the day. So fun matinee. Let's go. Hi friends. Oh my God, sorry, that was really high pitched. Hi. I just got out watching Smile. That was surprising. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I love, sorry, it's really warm out here today, but it's so crazy because so many times I go and see a movie and before I go in and I'm like, this is going to be a bit simple, a bit of a popcorn horror. And don't get me wrong, it definitely is that, but there is so much more to this movie and in such interesting, unexpected ways. And I have a lot to talk about. So as we kind of said, the movie is about a doctor who witnesses something traumatic and from there she has to put together like this puzzle to try and figure out what is happening to people that results in them putting on this psychotic smile. And it is an interesting kind of, is she insane? Is she not insane? But also, the trip down the rabbit hole of investigating and trying to get to the bottom of like what's actually happening. And then all of that because she is a doctor, she is a psychologist. I believe she's a psychologist. She works in a psych ward, which is so interesting. It's from the perspective of mental illness, and this film, although it is a popcorn horror, I would say it's pretty simple and very straightforward, and it does explain everything. it still has those layers of talking about mental illness and people coping with mental illness and trauma. So there's a lot going on in that respect. So yeah, it was really interesting. It's a really nice blend of like an easy, simple watch, but still has a lot of traumatic moments and a lot of jump scares. This movie has so many jump scares, but good ones, like really intense ones. And I would say the structure is what makes it very interesting, but can be what might lose it for some people. And it's probably the biggest problem I had was I don't know if it was a problem per se. I understand why they had to do it, but the structure for this film is like peak and then nothing, and then peak, and then nothing. And it feels more creepy and sinister sometimes in those quieter areas, but it's not like a constant, like, next thing, next thing, next scene. There's a lot of interesting spirals for her as these cases go. People, you know, learn things, then no one believes them, and there's a lot of repeating that kind of, those scenes over and over, and I think a lot of scenes that were, like, bridging her slow descent into the mystery that felt unnecessary, or they were trying to slowly gain momentum, and I feel like in those moments I came out of it a little bit. But what's really interesting is it kind of needed those moments because the peaks are so intense and so unexpected and so like insane, and you could tell when a jump scare was coming. It has that silence, but what I liked about this film is they kept the silence for that beat longer, that you knew something was coming. I was literally I had my coffee, and every time I could see something coming, I'm like putting my coffee down because I know I'm gonna jump. And I jumped so many times because the jump scares in this film are expected but still in interesting ways. It's like they took all of these elements that we like out of like a lot of recent films, these techniques, and they kind of did a little twist on it, like a little sinister smile twist, which I really enjoyed. It felt like It Follows meets Lights Out in a way for me, because of all of the way it was put together. It's like this sinister, creepy, atmospheric movie, but it's also very simple. So I feel like it I don't know, it ticked a lot of boxes for me. But the one thing that I felt was like the most interesting, or I guess first we should talk about, yeah, with the structure, it was like very like peak and then still and then peak and still. But what I really liked was the characters, because the main girl, Rose, she was fantastic. What I love about this acting is it's very easy to mess up this kind of acting where it's just this facial feature that's, can we make it creepy without making it cringy, without making it funny? And although at some points they definitely played off that dry kind of awkwardness, I felt like they did so good because it's so hard to have that up close shot and make yourself look so sinister without it being laughable. And because they had such those like dead air moments where it felt like nothing was really happening in the film and then there'd be a peak, it more so played into that as the quietness being uncomfortable, and I thought that was really interesting. But also the main character, Rose, I loved that she was a doctor and it was from the other side. So it was really interesting seeing someone in a psych ward, because we see all these stereotypical psych wards and they're kind of phasing it out in movies now. They're becoming more aware of the stereotypes that these kinds of situations portray, being inside like a psych ward. But what I liked about it was it came from someone who understands that side and was willing to listen. And it was a really interesting way to kind of turn it on its head. And they even talk about that at the start. A lot of the film has like an interesting dynamic between Rose and her sister doesn't really understand her work. And in that regard, they're able to show how dedicated Rose is to her job. And so I thought it was a really interesting way they could still have all of those intense scenes in the psych ward, but also make sure that the audience is aware about what kind of perspective it's coming from. And I thought that was really clever. But I haven't even spoken about my favorite thing about this film. The color. What the heck? I've got to find out. I gotta find the director and I am tweeting him. I don't know if he'll respond. I'm gonna find him. I need to ask what the heck was going on, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. The film is covered in pink and blue, and Rose is blue and her sister is pink. Everything they wear is either pink or blue, and she gravitates more towards blue. And I felt as the film went on, the colors kind of got sucked out and it was more beige. And it was really interesting the way they did it because it's very purposeful. Once you see the blue, you can't unsee it. It's in everything she wears. It's like right in your face. And what is really interesting is it feels like as the film gets not, I wouldn't say more realistic, but as the film goes on and it becomes more serious, it becomes this kind of, like it sucks the tones or the colors, or we change into the reds and browns and those kind of fall or autumn colors. So it's really interesting because it starts with these kind of cotton candy, we call it fairy floss kind of colors, like a playground. And what's interesting is that's within the psych ward. So the psych ward is painted pink and blue. And then they also utilize vignettes. So the whole thing, and I love vignettes, I use them usually on my videos. This is an example of an exaggerated vignette here. So it draws your eyes into focus in the middle. So it has these really simplistic scenes where there's not a lot of props. It's just really in your face, and I think that's how I was able to pick out. I'm sure everyone is. It's not like I was special in that regard, but it's why it's so in your face seeing the blues and the pinks, because everything else is so simplified. It feels like you're in this kind of fun house, which I thought was really interesting because then they pull it apart into the two different characters, and Rose's sister wearing pink and she's wearing blue. And then you start seeing it throughout the house, you see it in certain things, and it's like it was really interesting. And I definitely have these kind of theories about what those colors could mean. But yeah, I really loved the vignettes and the way the film looked. It was like this uncomfortable feeling where it was almost too perfect, and it was really interesting that it started that way, which I absolutely loved. And then the other thing I really enjoyed was the end. I'm not going to say much more. Very surprising, very shocking, loved it. The film has a lot of really fun, unexpected moments and a lot of gore, and I just really enjoyed it. It was more than what I thought it would be, in a very strange way. It just has a very strange stylization to it, where it's dry, and there's a little bit of humor in there, and that's like this dryness, and it's like this dark film that isn't afraid to go places, but is still really sensitive in its content. It was a very interesting stylization I haven't seen before. So I really enjoyed that. And I'm seeing the director, Parker Finn, has also done a short horror movie with the same girl, Caitlin, the Australian actress I was talking about earlier, who was fantastic, by the way. Desperate to rid herself of a recurring nightmare, a young woman seeks help from her therapist. It's called Laura Hasn't Slept. It seems like it could be a little bit similar, but I'm very interested to see any other stylization from this director. They've just done a bunch of shorts. I love this stylization. It's something a little bit different to what we're seeing at the moment. More simplified, more stripped back, but very straightforward with its message and very effective. It's not like it's shoved down your throat. It's just like sprinkling in these subtleties that are well explained. And yeah, I really, how can you not be excited about a new kind of flavor of horror coming out from an emerging director? So that was exciting. But yes, I would say there were some obvious scenes that I felt like there were close-ups of certain things that it seemed a little bit too obvious at times, and that's my only kind of drawback from this film. I won't give it the highest score because I don't think it's an amazing masterpiece or anything like that, but I think it's really awesome and solid for what it is. I'm going between a 7 and an 8, and because I'm always enthusiastic straight off the bat, I'm going to give this one a 7. We'll see if it changes right here for personal score, but I really do recommend, if you're into popcorn horror, if you like interesting stories and you're not scared of like a little bit of dryness or slow pacing between your jump scares, you will enjoy it. But be warned, it's a little bit slow in the middle, but the editing is fantastic, and the transition shots are so cool, and it all does make sense. So I still recommend horror fans to go and see this one in the cinema. I don't think you can go wrong by going in and expecting a really interesting but simple story from start to end with a really cool conclusion. With originality, I'm going to give it a 6. I think it is a story I've seen before, but again, sprinkled with some spice, and I really enjoyed getting caught off guard in some moments. It was very much enjoyable for me. And scare score, I was squirming. I loved it. If you like jump scares and you like something that's a little bit gross and a little bit disturbing, this one is for you. If you don't like jump scares, probably not, but it is high on the jump scare scale, but in all the best ways. There's a moment. Oh, I just loved it. And for that, I'm going to give it a 8. It got me. I can't tell you. I love jumping around the cinema, and this one is definitely for the cinema, so make sure to go out and check this one in the cinemas. Spooky Astronauts approved. I think that your money will be well spent seeing this with a couple of friends during this upcoming weekend or the week after. But if not, check it out when it's streaming, because I think a lot of people are going to love this one, and I was pleasantly surprised. It had a lot more bite to it than I was expecting. But thank you so much for watching today. I gotta go because my camera is getting too hot. It's overheating. But I really appreciate you being here. Let me know if you've seen Smile, and let me know what you thought down below. What did you think about it? Sorry, I think I hit the mic. What did you think about it? I can't wait to talk about it with all of you down below in the comments, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Remember to stay safe and stay spooky. Until next time, very soon. I can't wait to you see my next video. It's going to be jam-packed. Bring your pen and paper, although there will be a list included in the comments. Anyway, I'll see you then. Stay safe, stay spooky. Bye, friends.